it was just all happened so quickly. I went from like working in a cafe and a pub and playing gigs whenever I could to then just like leaving Western Australia to play shows. So I'm still pinching myself about the whole thing, to be honest. My name is Stella Donnelly. I'm from Fremantle in Western Australia, and I write and play music, and I've been doing that since I've pretty much turned 18, and I've just turned 30, so a little while now, and I'm currently here in Norwich supporting Rolling Blackouts Coastal Fever. I started out busking at the markets while my mum did her grocery shopping, and then I was just doing covers of other people's songs, and then a guy walked past who ran like an agency that put cover musicians into bars, and so on Sunday afternoons I'd do like 4 hours of covers to make like a bit of money, and so that was kind of how I made my living for a while. And you know, it was pretty soulless, but I developed my chops because I would have to sing for 4 hours straight, so that kind of helped train me in a way. And then I've always written music along the way, playing guitar, acoustic guitar mostly, and then my acoustic guitar was stolen, and I had an electric guitar that I'd bought and been sitting there for ages, and I had never touched it, and so I was kind of forced to play this electric guitar, and the amp that I bought years ago, my Princeton, still stays with me today, and I still use it on stage today. It's like my favourite amp ever. And then I started writing more songs on electric guitar, and then played in a bunch of other bands around Fremantle. I was in like 6 different bands. We were doing punk stuff, psychedelic stuff, and then eventually just like got the confidence to do my own thing. Yeah. I got into music school, and I did that for a year, and I dropped out just because I'd met all the people that I'd wanted to meet, but the content wasn't really good I didn't really enjoy it. So I kind of just like used the opportunity to network and then play with people from that place. And most of us quit as well, which is terrible. And I put out a song on SoundCloud, and someone messaged me, and he ran like a little boutique cassette tape label in Melbourne. And he was like, hey, I'd love to put an EP out of your songs. And I'd previously been trying to create this EP, and it was just becoming too big, and just the comfort of someone just wanting to put my song out on 30 cassette tapes was kind of really nice for me, and I had a lot of confidence from that. And so I put out this EP, and then Triple J, which is Australia's big youth radio station, picked up one of the songs, and then I was invited to Big Sound, which is Our Great Escape in Australia. And at one of my shows, there was a record label representative from Secretly Canadian, who's a big label around the world. They've got Angel Olsen and Bon Iver and stuff like that. And he was at my gig, and so we caught up, and then it was just all happened so quickly. I went from like working in a cafe and a pub and playing gigs whenever I could to then just like leaving Western Australia to play shows. So I'm still pinching myself about the whole thing, to be honest. I really like trying to make sense of human dynamics and trying to make sense of, you know, interactions, whether it's like a 3-year-long interaction with your ex-partner, or whether it's between your mother and yourself, or whether it's just 2 random people that you've sensed this thing happening. And I like trying to paint a picture of that very specific moment in time between 2 people. Yeah. I'm the least visual person I know. Like I love film and I love art, but I definitely, for me, it's just sound. Like I definitely draw from nature. I'm a big bird watcher. I was actually just bird watching here in Norwich this morning, down at the Thorpe wetlands. We played in Brighton last night, and then we slept on the bus, the noisy bus, and you know, you're just around noise constantly. And so the first thing I did was just like go straight there, and it just fully calmed me down on so many levels. It was just such a beautiful place. You're very lucky. And I definitely take a lot from that sort of soundscape and the textures that we hear. That really does a lot for me. It gives me a little buzz. So yeah, I find a lot of inspiration. But my music doesn't really sound like that. So I don't know. But yeah, it's definitely mostly just coming from other musicians and other songs and what I've grown up listening to and stuff like that. I'm a big fan of I just like seeing, just discovering what makes a soundscape, you know. So today there were lots of warblers down on the marsh, and then you've obviously got the blackbirds kind of floating around. So I didn't really know anything about that, and so that was really fantastic. And I found it very interesting. The magpie here has quite a harsh call, whereas the magpie in Australia has this beautiful warbly song. And so I had a lot of expectations for the UK magpie, and sadly they were not met. Screech. But in saying that, you've got some beautiful birds here. But no, I haven't got a particular species. I'd like to see some. We don't get any like Canada geese. I know that they're pretty common here, but we don't get any kind of migratory geese that come across Australia. So I love the story of how far they fly and how high they fly, and it's pretty special. Yeah. I don't know. I see other Australians overseas, and I see how they act, you know, in overseas countries and stuff like that, on pub crawls and Kontiki tours and stuff like that. And I was there once, you know. I feel like I've been there, but you know, it's very interesting what people from other countries see of you as a nation. And I guess Australians are known for being like doing the big backpacking thing, and they're kind of, you can't really escape Australians. But yeah, I mean, Australia has a very, 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 very ancient history, and it goes so much beyond colonisation. And I think that's a very important thing that a lot of people overseas maybe aren't aware of. And we have such a rich First Nations history in the country I live in, and you know, being able to you know, make playlists and you know, help elevate and give platform to those artists around me that I play with at home, and hopefully, you know, use my opportunities over here to also you know, possibly create opportunities for them is a big one for me. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's a really good one. There's a lot that I would say. There's a lot of things I'd say. Stop, don't do that. Don't do that. I think my place in the world as a young girl, in that year, whichever year that was, 15 years ago, was very different. You know, the world looked at women very differently, particularly in Australia. And I think I was probably conditioned to not have much worth in my music and in what I do and stuff like that. And to just know that the world was going to kind of change and slowly. But I think it's just that confidence and knowing that you don't have to fight other women for one spot, you know? Like it was that whole thing of like there can only be one female on this lineup or whatever it is. So I think that was a big thing that I hadn't probably processed yet at 15. Mm.
Cool.
Yeah. I took that to a heavier place than you probably expected. So